Well, back to my Denver days, they've always put an emphasis on at least if you can see the quarterback's eyes, get your hands up. If you're not going to get the sack, at least make something happen. I didn't even realize they were on Dylan, but that's just something I've always done. I've led the league a couple times in batted balls, and so it's just something that the more you can do, that's the way I look at it.
Shelby, I don't know if it was the first or second day of practice. You came out, you got almost there, and you said out loud, "Here comes the old man."
Yeah.
So how do you feel 2 weeks in?
I feel like I'm about to be 34. But honestly though, I feel good. It's just I enjoy being out here with the guys. I enjoy, that's the thing you love the most is just like the team and being around all the guys and putting in that work. Training camp's the time where you're supposed to be bonding with everybody and getting to know all the young guys. But then also you go out there and you gain respect. You earn that respect. You're watching people run full speed, making plays, and it's a time where you really get close to your teammates, and that's really I think the main part. Obviously you want to get in shape, but this is the main part of training camp is really just building that bond with your teammmates.
Shelby, what does the defense have to do to be better overall as a unit than it was last?
I say eliminate the big play. We I look at a specific game like that Chargers game. You have a bunch of positive plays, and then you have a couple where it's a big broken play, and they score on those, and that's the difference between winning and losing. So for us to take that next step as a defense and to get back on track, we got to really eliminate the big play, but then also just believe in each other. Go out there, play. It should look like there's 13 guys on the field, even though it's 11. D-line getting out of the stack, running to the ball, linebackers cleaning it up, and just everybody just, playing a part.
Shelby, I'm sure you remember when you were a rookie. As you look at Mason, what do you notice out of him that, he's picked up maybe faster, than the average rookie, and where do you feel like he's at right now?
I think there's a learning curve for anybody that hasn't played this type of defense. Mason's coming from a read defense, and so what I do appreciate about him is he's putting in the work to make this more of a second nature of just coming off the ball, because it takes a lot of work. Coming from a guy like me, I was in a 3-4 for 8-9 years of my career. I come here year 10, and I have to teach myself the differences and the nuances of this defense. I think Mason's doing a good job staying in the playbook, asking questions, coming out early, getting the extra work, just pretty much just being a sponge and taking everything, in his ear and really just working.
There's sort of been, I guess you can call it a little bit of a youth movement on that defense. Are you sort of embracing being that leader and helping these young guys come along?
Man, I'm young too. You know what I mean? You have to think about at the end of the day in life, being 33, about to turn 34, that's young. And you know what I mean? So this football stuff ages us, but I just think it's cool because you got to think I got a daughter about to go to college, and these dudes just got out of college. So it's just it's a full circle moment, but I embrace it though. They keep me young. I love it because I hear music I don't hear all the time, and it's just stuff. It's just little things like that where you appreciate what the young players can bring to the table, and I just think that everybody brings something a little bit unique and a little bit different, and it's all welcomed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it help kind of keep you at least in football years?
Yeah, football years, it keeps me young, and then I'm telling you, having an 18-year-old, I'd be listening to stuff and bro, what the hell did that come from? But and that's why I just think it's cool because we always talk about it, me and my wife will, but it'd be half these kids are closer to my daughter's age than they are to my age, and so I just think it's just a cool moment where I can go up there and still kind of be, one of the guys, even though I'm older, and then I got to go home and be dad to someone pretty much the same age.
So she's going to be a freshman this year?
Yeah.
Where?
Fort Hays State. She's playing softball.
What's your name?
Kamaya. Yeah. Watch out for her. She's gonna be cold.
Are you hoping you might be able to introduce her to something she hasn't heard of?
No. That's not the goal. I'm not trying to sit here. And here's the thing. It's the coolest part about it is especially with my music taste or whatever, I don't really listen to anything new. But then when they show it to me, I'm like, okay, I can rock with this a little bit. And then I'll come in here and I hear it in here. I'm like, see, I heard that before.
Shelby, you're the NFLPA rep.
Am I? I didn't know that.
With all that's going on, do you feel extra discussion, extra questions guys have for you with all that's going on?
Well, yeah, even without everything that's going on, is my job as NFLPA rep of the team to keep the guys informed, have these conversations. Even like I said, even when there's not big things going on with all the stuff happening with the PA, we need to do a better job, I guess, of just keeping that the talk going all year round of what's going on with the PA, what's coming up next, And, I do like what it has done because it's made us have to talk more and more with the players about what's going on with the PA. I think that's the most important thing is just more player involvement and just, really just communication with the everyday player and to keep them, to have a more informed player.
When you look at when Mike Hall gets back and you're in there and Mason's in there, Sam, you guys have a pretty formidable defensive tackle room these days, don't you?
Yeah, I think, everybody brings something different, and I think that's the best part about it. Like, you have guys like Malik, who proven pass rusher, but underrated run stopper in this league, and then you got a guy like Mason, who has a lot to prove in this league, coming in, obviously has a lot behind him, number 5 overall. You got to come in there and prove it, but I just think in our D tackle room, you have guys from all walks of life, guys that, you have first-round picks, you have mid-round picks, you have undrafted guys. You have guys fighting for rosters, and you have guys that are going to be here. So I just think the best thing that we can all do as a D-line room is work hard, push each other, be an open book, be a sponge, and then, celebrate when the next guy does something. My biggest thing I always hype and harp to a lot of the young guys is we're not in competition with one another. The only competition you have is with yourself. And if you keep the main thing, you won't have any problems with all the other stuff. So you got to go out there and just play your game. You can't be worried about what somebody else is doing. You can't be worried about all that stuff. The only thing you can worry about is yourself. Go out there and make little improvements every day. And then, the craziest thing I always try to tell people is, you are auditioning for 31 other teams also. So you have to make sure you put your best foot forward every time you step on that practice field, every time you step onto the game. You got to go out there and do you and be the best you can be.
Obviously, music is a part of youth culture, but so is the language. Having an 18-year-old daughter and being teammates with all these young college guys. Have you heard of the term "unk" yet?
Unk?
Unk, yeah.
Yeah, they call. Hey, I'm Unk, man. They call me Unk, OG. Big Shell. You know what I mean? I embrace it all, but yeah, I've heard Unk, and I just think it's cool because it's more of a sign of respect. You know what I mean? It's all right, you've been here, you've been around. You know what I mean? Hey, go ahead, Unk, do your thing. And so I appreciate it, and I love, this is always the best time of year when you're learning a bunch of new stuff that you had no clue about. You know what I mean?
Last year you were one of the Fathers Club, one of the 30-somethings with multiple kids.
Yeah.
But you've lost most of your club now, right? I mean, you're one of the only ones left.
Yeah, I got my kids over there, just chilling. But yeah, it's that was always the coolest part to me is because I want them to be able to my kids to be able to grow up with other kids that have had this experience and to be around it. So obviously the sad part about losing Obo, losing Jordan Hicks, and losing guys that have kids, but it's more guys coming in, and it's just it's a great experience to be to have kids my kids' age, my oldest is 18, my youngest is 4. And for them to be able to live this life with me, to grow up through this with me, and to be around this, I just think it's nothing I'd rather have because, eventually it's all going to end. And so you just hope that you were able to do enough to leave an impact on their life and to really, set your family up and put your best foot forward. And that's all I try to do every day. Yeah.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yep, no problem.